Hi BookTube, I'm here for my fifth and final review for Canada Reads 2017, and this is the book that I think should and probably will win Canada Reads, and that is The Break by Katherena Vermette. It will be defended by Candy Palmater. So what is The Break about? The Break is about a community in northern Winnipeg that has a high population of First Nations people, and it surrounds an incident of sexual assault, rape, and the kind of interconnectedness of the characters. So we get 10 different perspectives in this rather short book. We get a slew of sisters, their daughters' friends, a Métis police officer, a young troubled woman, and to be honest, a lot of them all kind of merged into one for me. So I will come out straight and admit that I DNF'd this book at 74%. There are some issues that I had with it. A book full of promise but failing in execution again. But I still think it should win because it has the most promise, and if it could be remedied. This book can be remedied. My main issue was that there was no distinct voice or style between all the characters. So you get 10 different perspectives, and they all kind of merge at once because the style of writing is similar. The interconnectedness of them, there's some sisters, and then there's mothers and grandmothers, and then there's a lot of similarities in their stories as well. So it's hard to keep them all separate, which also kind of meant that I didn't really feel attached to any of the characters, because they were all kind of mushy and indistinct, you know? And that's really disconcerting because in a book about rape and family ties and about the horrible history of First Nations in Canada, you'd probably, you know, expect to feel something for the characters. So I didn't, and I didn't continue reading past that point because it kind of deals with this mystery of, you know, who committed the sexual assault, but it's kind of really obvious, and I skimmed through and it was quite obvious to me, so I didn't feel compelled, even plot-wise, to continue with the book. There were a lot of editing issues, and that was another big concern of mine. And I'm not talking just about like spelling and grammar errors. Those I can generally forgive because grammar is really quite complicated, and spelling errors happen. But I'm talking about things like that could have been fixed with a good editor. Things like mixing verb tenses. I'll have an example of a quote here. She changed her schools after her mum dies. So we have changed, and then we have dies. So it should either be she changes her school after her mum dies, or she changed her schools after her mum died. Those kind of things. Awkward phrasings galore. I remember my high school teachers writing AWK awkward on phrasings and essays and stuff that I had submitted. And, you know, my high school teachers picked it up. A professional editor should definitely pick up some of the really awkward phrasings that happened. There were a lot of cliche or meaningless statements to kind of like wrap ideas up superficially. For example, she says at one point, she does know, but she doesn't. What's that supposed to mean? Like, you're too scared to come to a conclusion? I don't know. Make up your mind. Does she know or does she not know? But I think that the issue of the way that it addresses the issues, as opposed to just the issues itself, the way that it addresses the issues of sexual abuse in the Indigenous communities, as well as the missing and murdered Indigenous women, as well as the history of First Nations in Canada. I think that this book addresses these issues well. I had an issue with last year's pick that had a lot of similar themes, Birdie, because it ultimately ended with Birdie returning to the people who had abused her and forgiving them, and kind of ignoring that they did these horrible things, that they continue to do these horrible things, and that they were not held accountable for what they did. And that was my primary issue with Birdie. So I want to state that I think First Nations issues are incredibly important, and that I think with Candy Palmater defending this book that it should and that it will win Canada Reads 2017. Let me know which book you think should win, and thank you for watching.